Come on into my kitchen today while I make some carrot salsa. I got the recipe from the Bernardin Complete Book of Home Preserving. In my last video I was processing, pressure canning carrots. I had enough carrots left over that I could make this carrot salsa. It takes 3 cups of shredded carrots. It worked perfectly. So come on over to the countertop and see the next step in this process. We already have 3 cups of shredded carrots. Earlier today, I took bags of tomatoes out of the freezer. I had 5 of them, and I need to make space for my turkey. I'm just taking these tomatoes. When I put them in the freezer, I scored and cored them. I took the ends off and basically scored the skins on the bottom. See, scored it and cored it. So now, as they defrost, the skins come off very easily. I don't have to blanch them, and it got them off my counter at the time that I needed them off of my counter. They're frozen still. My hands are getting cold. I need 6 cups of these tomatoes. I will come back to you when I'm done them. I have 6 cups of tomatoes. They're supposed to be roughly chopped, but because these were frozen, they will mash down quite easily. I have 3 cups of coarsely shredded carrots. I have ½ a cup each of jalapenos and onions diced to a suitable size for salsa. If you like them larger and chunkier, then you go right ahead. 1½ cups of apple cider vinegar. 1¼ cups of lightly packed brown sugar. Then I have 1½ teaspoons of salt. ½ teaspoon of black pepper. And then left over I have ¼ cup of chopped cilantro, but that doesn't go in until the end. You bring that to a simmer and you let it simmer for up to an hour until it thickens. I'll be back. Alright, so I had this salsa simmering for about an hour to thicken up. It's getting pretty thick now. And in the last 5 minutes, you add in ¼ cup of chopped cilantro. Now I'm just going to let that simmer for 5 minutes. So I'm going to take that off the heat and start jarring it up. It smells amazing. The cilantro made all the difference in the world in the fragrance of this. This recipe is designed for ½ pint jars. And that's just fine because I want to make this into serving sizes just for me. This recipe calls for ½ inch of headspace. So we're going to debubble this, make sure there's no air pockets in the bottom. And we will measure the headspace at, that's 1 inch, that's 3/4, that's half. And I think we're a little tiny bit shy. So I will, where did I put my spoon? We're a tiny bit shy on that headspace, so I'm just going to put in a little bit more to bring that up. And that's all it is, it's just a tiny bit off. That will do it. Like, that's hardly worth mentioning. Oh, there is an air bubble, I can see it. This is supposed to make 5 jars. I think it looks like there's a lot more than 5 jars in that pot. And then I'm going to switch over to ¼ pint jars, these really little tiny guys, because these are great for putting in a gift basket. A sampler basket really is all it is. Have a sample of my carrot salsa. Have a sample of my corn salsa. Okay. I ran out of jars. I'll be right back. Okay, because this recipe made more than I expected, I'm going to switch, and I'm out of small jars, I'm going to switch up to a pint jar. And I did some research while the camera was off. A pint jar, in some recipes a pint jar goes for the same length of time as the ½ pint, and in some recipes the pint jar goes for 20 minutes. So to err on the side of caution, I'm going to run this for 20 minutes. But my pot's almost empty. I might only get 1 jar out of this. There's only a small amount left. That's not enough to fill a jar. It might fill a small jar if I had one. I'm going to set that aside and let it cool, and we're going to try some. A funny thought just crossed my mind as I'm doing this. This recipe doesn't have any garlic in it or any other peppers in it. It's carrots, tomatoes, jalapenos, onions, and cilantro. Okay, I have the pot of water on. I have my canning pot on to get hot so I can put these jars in. Hot jars, hot water. These jars have more substance than a batch of carrots, for example. There is no fat in this, but there are seeds and tomato pulp and other things that you would want to make sure are not stuck to the rim. Like this one here, the tomato slopped over the top and started to dry, so that little bit of dried tomato would make the jar not seal. I had the cider vinegar out, so I've just grabbed the cider vinegar to do this with. Okay, my lids have been sitting in hot water. And I'm going to apply my rings fingertip tight. I'm not wrenching it on with my whole hand. I'm just going as tight as I can with just the tips of my fingers. Okay, into the canner they go. I can see a very neat effect happening on the camera. The light is reflecting off of the water right here. That is just lighting. There's a little bit of effervescence in the water as it's heating, and the camera is catching the light. That should have made it ripple. Yeah. We'll put the large one in the middle so it doesn't tip over. I'm going to do a little trick here because these jars need to be up straight, not tipping over. This is a jar of water. It's got a new ring on the top of it, it's got a new lid on the top of it, just like any of these products in here. And I'm using this as a dummy to fill up the canner. And I'm going to slide in another one. That pushes the water level up a little bit so that this jar here is covered by an inch of water. But it also helps to make these jars less tippy. I'm actually going to move this around. Let's try moving this one over here. Okay, there we go. Now when those jars of water come out of there, they're perfectly safe to go on the shelf. They're shelf stable, and it can be a source of emergency water if if there's a power failure and you need a couple of cups of water. Now these are not large jars by any means. They're only a pint, which is 2 cups, but that little bit of water might be enough to boil in the kettle or someone to have a drink. Make a baby bottle. A bottle of formula, the water's already been pre-boiled. It's all nice and safe for a baby too. Just another option. I'm going to throw a lid on that and we're going to wait for that to come to a boil, and then I'm going to boil that for the half pints need 15, but because I did do the pint, I'm going to push it up to 20 minutes. All right, my 20 minutes is up. Now it's time to take these jars out. I'm going to let that sit for a few minutes to quit boiling. That bowl I put in the fridge earlier, I'm going to have a little taste test while I'm waiting for the canner to cool off a little bit. It did thicken up in the refrigerator. That's good. It's a little sweeter than I expect for salsa, but it is tasty. Now let's see what Dan has to say about it. I want your honest opinion.
Sweet. It's good. Sweet though.
It is sweet.
Yeah. Maybe we're the second test.
Maybe that would be really good with some old cheddar.
Very sweet.
Just like you. Thanks, Dan. Okay, that has cooled off. It's no longer rolling. This is my water. They're large jars. I'd like to get them out of the way. And then I have one large jar of salsa, and I had no siphoning. The water is straight water. There's no debris in there at all. There are a bit of rust particles floating around in there, but that'll sort itself out. I'm giving the jars a little swirl just to make sure there's no rust sitting on top of them, but that's all. I'm not tipping them. The water disappears off of them pretty quickly. I don't know if it goes in or if it... I don't know if the water goes in or just evaporates. I'm watching this and it looks like it's evaporating. So there we go. That's today's progress. It took a long time, but I did have to run to the grocery store in the middle of the day, and that's an hour out of my productivity. So I got 9 jars of carrots and 8 jars of carrot salsa of various sizes. I think that would be, like I said earlier, I think that'll make a nice addition to a salsa gift basket. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. Be sure to give my video a thumbs up and a like and a comment. That helps YouTube to see me just a little bit more. And I'm always open to having more subscribers. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. I'll see you next time.